I think it's definitely time now to hear about the amazing success of the Bumbleance fundraising event of 2023. So we're going to go right over to the presentation, and we're going to meet with a wonderful person called Richie Wald, and you'll also hear William and Ita. In fact, William and Ita will introduce Richie here. So let's go right over now to that presentation, which took place on the 7th of July 2023. Well, now, my goodness, this has been such an amazing occasion. Here we're on the main road between the Sandpit House and Mallow here, but a very special occasion. Mr. William Fitzgerald and Ita, what has been happening here this evening that is attracting such attention?
Well, we had a car summer run. We struck off. It was a bad evening to start off with, but we had a good car. A few cars came by the time we started off Cullen. That was the 17th of June. The evening was 3 o'clock. We had thunder, lightning, no power, but it turned around in the space of a few hours, and the full family, friends, crew came out, and all members of the Vintage Club, the whole lot, and they made it such a success. We went back, we had music. Our Cough Music Station DJ Barry was behind providing the music. We had Bernie Heaney and with Sheila Heary, and then the night went on, we had the Carrigan and McCart bus came, and Tim Joe Reardon came along with his accordion, and they brought the house down back there. And our man here, Danny, our DJ Danny, he kept the show going all night, and he organised the draw with Ita, and he made sure that everything was done, made so welcome.
And Danny, you welcomed us to Ballymcgilligan in a special way.
Yes.
Tremendous. And you enjoyed that night?
Yes.
And you sang a song with Bernie, didn't you, Danny?
Yes.
What did you sing?
Johnny Brown.
Johnny Brown.
Good man, Seamus.
And Ita, you're going to reveal what the result is.
Everybody raised, Sean, was €5,006.70. It was a huge amount. We're very, very grateful to everybody who donated, everybody who helped us, because we wouldn't have any money if people didn't donate. So, and everybody that helped, our family, club members, friends, everybody that came out and helped us and donated and made everything such a huge success.
Absolutely.
And especially we need to thank Richie for bringing the Bumbleance, Richie and his crew for bringing the Bumbleance, because Richie brought his car as well as the Bumbleance. And, I just think that having the Bumbleance on it, on the run, and having it here tonight for the presentation, it just adds something to the whole lot of it. That's what it's all about, because Richie is an amazing man. He puts in hours and hours in the Bumbleance.
Absolutely.
And they're so lucky to have him as a driver.
And here tonight we heard one man described as a real hero. Mr. William Fitzgerald, who did you describe as the real hero?
Oh, the man himself, Richie, after dedicating a life of helping people along the road, driving an ambulance, and to take this on then in his retirement, I think that he don't get any...
Utterly inspiring. And we're so delighted to be joined on Cork Music Station by the one and only Richie Walsh, and Richie, here beside this most amazing Bumbleance vehicle here that has meant so much to so many. Welcome. And what does tonight mean to you?
I suppose tonight is humbling, because it's always known that the Irish are such a decent race of people, we're such a decent nation of people, and thanks to Willie and Ita, they've put a lot of effort, and all the people around that, they've presented me with a cheque tonight for Bumbleance for €5,006.70, as Ita has said, and that goes to Bumbleance, which is the Saoirse Foundation. And can I just say, the Saoirse Foundation it's a registered charity, but not alone is it a registered charity, but it's part of the triple locked system, which means that every penny that goes through their accounts has to be accounted for, so nothing can get misappropriated, which is a brilliant thing. And it's proud to say like that cheque goes for the use of Bumbleance, and I'm very humbled that people turned out on the day. And what fact we missed at the very beginning was that it was a Mill Street Vintage Club that held the summer run, right?
Yes.
Okay, Will? Yes. And yes, we took part in it, and we were looking at the weather in the evening. Yes, we got 1 or 2 shows, but I think we wound up having, 93 cars in total, which is amazing.
And accompanying your good self on that evening was your son and another gentleman?
They presently work still for the NAS. My son works at the NAS. And his friend
works with
the National Ambulance Service.
Right.
Yeah, so he drove the ambulance for me, which meant I could bring an old car as well. So that we weren't sure of numbers and things, and we just wanted to make sure the numbers were right.
So you were very much at home.
I was very much at home indeed. I was, and in very good company.
But Richard, if you just go back, as William indicated here, you have spent your whole life in the wonderful service of an ambulance driver, and like after such an amazing dedicated life, to again come and give so much of your free time in such a voluntary way to this wonderful service, what inspired you?
I suppose, after a life of being a paramedic, frontline paramedic for many, many years, that when I did retire, yes, I retired and was glad to retire, but I wasn't ready to retire.
Right,
There's a bit more life for me, and this opportunity came up, and I said that I'd just take that opportunity. I'm not voluntary per se. I do get paid,
it's more nominal.
Correct.
Nominal, absolutely.
We won't get into that.
Yeah. Well, what an honest man! Straight away, being upfront in every way. My goodness. But aren't they blessed because of your experience? To have someone of your experience driving a Bumbleance is an extra bonus.
Well, it is an extra bonus, and I suppose it was a different tangent to what I was used to doing, because what I was used to doing is your front line, you're going to emergency work the whole time, whereas this is, if I can put it, that it's more humanitarian, that you're helping families, trying to get their children to appointments. But the one fact that hasn't ceased to amaze me since I started working with Bumbleance is the amount of sick children that there actually are in Ireland. The amount of children, we'll say, with scoliosis, a whole litany of diseases, and the amount of children with cancer. So it's ensuring that you gain children to appointments for chemotherapy and for follow-up appointments and stuff when families can't drive themselves, because we'll say the father might have to work, you might have a family, the father has to work, somebody still has to bring money into the home, so it kind of takes that pressure off of them, that at least now they know that they have somebody who can actually take that family
but
to
not
their
only
appointment.
that, Richie, it's child-friendly in such an amazing manner.
It's very much orientated towards children. Like on board we've an Android television, so we have on board internet. We've PlayStation, and fantastic. Even if they don't want what's on TV, like sometimes they have their own iPads and things, so they have the use of the internet while they're on board as well, so because there's Wi-Fi password and things like that.
And if you could describe a typical day for yourself in Bumbleance?
A typical day, I could leave home in the morning, we'll say. I could leave, we'll say, maybe 5 or 6 in the morning. It depends on what time the appointments are in Dublin. Maybe head to Tralee, Ballyhaig. I do a lot of...
To collect at the home of the child.
At home. Just reassure the family that they're going to be there, number one, in time for their appointment. Make sure the child is comfortable while they're en route. It may necessitate that we may have to stop en route for different needs. Maybe the child might need, an awful lot. The children would be on peg feeding, which means that they're fed through a pump basically, and then just get them to Dublin. And then wait for them while they're having their appointment or their treatment, and then bring them home. So some days, my days can run to 14 or 15 hours. Wow. And some days I can do maybe 800 odd kilometres a day, but now they're the longer days. Yeah. Today was a shorter day, but even though it was a shorter day, I still wound up doing 600 kilometres today. So it was a shorter day.
That is amazing. I can now see why William and Isa and Danny and all the crew have adopted this amazing charity to such an extent? Because my goodness, the good that it's doing is just phenomenal.
It is a good charity, and the work that's done throughout the country by my colleagues, and they're all invested in it, and I think that's pretty important, to be honest. You'd kind of have to be invested in it to do it. That's you can empathise with the people. You don't have to sympathise with them, if you know what I mean, like to just be able to empathise with them, and sure, that's who we are.
Clearly, Richard, your heart is in it, and this comes across in a very special way, as is the heart of Ita and William and Danny in the fundraising there. For our listeners, how many Bumbleances actually are in Ireland?
I cover a good piece of the south. We said most of my calls are Cork and Kerry.
Yes.
Then we've a lad in Limerick, and he covers kind of the Midlands.
Yes.
And there's a lady down in Waterford, so she covers down the southeast.
Yes.
There's a gentleman up in Donegal, and he kind of covers the northern part, and then there's a couple of lads in Dublin, so they kind of cover the Midlands then as well.
Yeah.
But most days, we'll say you'd have either 6 or 7 vehicles on the go.
Oh my goodness.
We covered the whole of Ireland with that, yeah.
And the funding, is it entirely voluntary?
All the funding is charity. We get no funding from the government or any others out. It is all charity. So it's the generosity of people, like the folk of Mill Street and the surrounding areas, right? That's one donation we got this week now, right? And it is all those donations that keep us on the go.
Yeah. Well, this donation, it must be one of the most significant ones that we have ever seen here coming from the area.
I'm overwhelmed, to be honest. I am dead proud to be here.
Right, tremendous. And we're so honoured to have you here. And by the way, I think you'd all agree, doesn't Richie have a great radio voice?
Absolutely, a fantastic speaking voice.
A future DJ.
I said I could be DJ there.
And finally, just why it's called Bumbleance.
It started with a family in Tralee who had 2 very ill kids, one after another, and they lost both their children. And just to ensure that they get their children to hospital appointments, they got an old out-of-service ambulance, and they got with volunteers, a lot of them from the National Ambulance Service time, to take the kids to hospital. And one of the children, it's called the Saoirse Foundation, because it is a foundation, it's the charitable foundation.
Freedom.
Yes,
Saoirse.
and their daughter was Saoirse.
Ah.
And she was absolutely, one of her things that she loved were bumblebees.
Oh, right.
And that's the history of Bumbleance.
Oh, yeah. It's perfect name, like ambulance, Bumbleance.
Yeah, and some people call it the bumblebee ambulance and things like that. You can call it what you want, but that's what we do.
Tremendous.
It is.
Well, Richie, thank you so much for sharing.
It's my pleasure.
We are going to have this on at 10:15 on this coming Tuesday night. After Jimmy Reedy. You're right there, exactly, Danny. Yes, almost, during the show. And I'm sure the ratings will just zoom.
Well, it's like you said to me when we did the day we did the run, Sean, the more people that kind of are aware of what our work entails, and that we are a charity, that we do depend on people's generosity and kindness, and without that kindness we don't exist.
Yeah. And I noticed that all the people that were present that day, they were there because they wanted to be there in a very real way.
They were.
Absolutely.
And I think that's apparent in the generosity of the money that was collected.
Yeah.
So people put their hands into their pocket to pull the money out, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even if watching here this evening, the people that have turned up for the presentation itself, normally there's only a fraction of people turn up for that. But this evening, they've all turned up. There must be some amazing...
Somebody is looking down us because it didn't shower us with rain just quite yet.
Not too far away.
Not too far away.
Yeah. Well, Richie Walsh, thank you so much indeed.
My pleasure,
and long may you continue to provide such an amazing service and continue to inspire the nation and the world, indeed. And final word from William, Ita and Danny.
Well, I don't think there's too many more words we can say tonight. We hope to be back next year.
And just to thank everybody again, and thank you, Richie, from the bottom of our hearts.
No, I'm thanking you.
Absolutely.
And I mean that sincerely. Without you doing this and starting it, this is one check we wouldn't be receiving.
Well, it's great to be handing it over, Richie. We're very, very happy.
And I think above all, it's the awareness. The awareness that's being...
You made that point to me, and you are 100% correct. It's just to get the more people that understand what we do and understand where we come from, and it's awareness.
Yeah. When they'll see €5,006.70 being presented, they'll wonder, what is this charity that is receiving and that deserves to receive this and far more? Yeah.
And we just want to say thanks very much to Danny, who was a huge help to us, and he's a presenter on Cork Music Station, and he does a wonderful show.
And Danny, just to give us an idea of who do you hear on Cork Music Station? What are the DJs?
John Nip.
Right.
And you, Sean. Titi, Barry, Willie, and... George, Brita, and Barry. Netta.
Tremendous altogether. So there we are.
And yourself, Danny.
And of course yourself.
Great.
Every Thursday night for Danny.
Thursday.
Great altogether.
And thank you, Sean.
Not at all. It's a joy. It's an honour. It's an honour.
And for doing the beautiful calligraphy on our presentation.
Well,
many talents to see out.
The way it is, thank God I spelled the name Bumbleance correct.
Thanks,
If I get it correctly. So that's great. Thank you very much indeed.